Hey there, Earthies. So, this is a video to help you with your Moon Journal project that starts this week. So, you're going to watch this video and learn all about your project. So, the Moon Journal project is really just a chance for you to record your observations of the moon for about 4 weeks. So, the reason we're doing this is so that you can make some direct observations of the moon's changing shape throughout the month. And it's going to help you to see and interpret some patterns better, like overall as a science person, as a student, and it's going to build your critical thinking skills as well. So yes, this is about the moon, but it's all about building skills as well. Okay, so checking your understanding here. Why am I having you do this project? Is it to A, help you build your critical thinking skills, B, help you to become a moon specialist, C, is it to help you, here we go, help you become an astronomer, or D, is it just busy work? I just don't like teaching. Basically, having you do this so that we can help build your critical thinking skills. There are going to be little checks for understanding throughout this video, so you can pause the video every time we have a question, see if you get the right answer, and then you can just push play again to see if you did it, if you got that right. Okay. All right. So, our Moon Journal project, basically, you're going to need a sheet of notebook paper for your observations. A quarter seems to be the best size on a sheet of notebook paper to draw a circle for your moon, and then your phone, because you're probably going to need to take a picture of it so that way you can upload that picture to Canvas, and then a pencil. Pencil works best, but if all you've got is a pen, that's fine too. So let's get started. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to record on one sheet of paper something that looks just like this. So I put my name at the top. This is where I live. So you want to put on your paper where you live. That will kind of help me when I'm figuring out whether or not you've done this correctly. And then I can also give you feedback to help you figure out where to look and so forth. For example, you're going to get started on this probably on May 7th. That's this Friday. Probably around 6:30, between like 6:30 and midnight is when you're going to be able to look. You're going to also record the compass direction, and we're going to talk about how to do that, as well as the altitude, and I'll teach you how to do that as well. In addition, you're going to be drawing a picture. So you're going to trace a quarter on your paper so that your template looks just like this, and then you're going to put a little key. So your little key is going to be that you're shading in the dark part of the moon, and you're leaving white whatever part is the lit part of the moon. So for example, in this picture, I would leave white this part on the right-hand side, but I'm going to shade in all of the part of the moon that is dark. All that part right here on the left-hand side that is dark, I'm going to shade all of that in here on my moon. Okay. So let's see if you understood what I just said. What part of the moon are you shading in on your diagram? Pause here to answer your question. And if you said that you are doing the dark part of the moon, that you're shading in the dark part of the moon, awesome. You got it. Nice job. So the dark part of the moon is the part that you can't see, right? The lit part of the moon is that's the part that we actually see, that's lit up in the sky. The temptation is to shade that part in. The temptation is always to shade in the part that you see, right? But you're not going to do that. And it's going to feel really weird. You'll probably get it wrong the first time. Most students do. That's okay. What I think of when I'm shading in the moon is I think of shading in the shadows, and hopefully that will kind of help you out, right? So for example, on this picture, I would shade in, like I would draw, you're still going to draw, like I would draw this, right? And then this part over here is going to stay lit up. It's going to stay white because that's the white lit up part of the moon. And then with my pen or pencil, and I'm not very good at doing this online, but you're going to shade this in with your pencil, right? So you're going to shade this whole thing in because this is the dark part of the moon, right? So you just shade it in as best as you can, right? So hopefully that will kind of stick with you so that you remember to shade in the dark part of the moon. There we go. You're also going to record the compass direction, okay? So this is the direction that you are facing when you're looking at the moon. So you're going to actually have to go maybe outside, or you might be able to see it from your windows. You're going to have to kind of look around a little bit, and I'll give you hints on where to look each week for the moon, so that will kind of help you out, right? But the direction that you're facing, so just like in this picture right here, this person is facing the moon, and so if they are facing north, then the compass direction of the moon is north. If you look at the moon and you're looking straight at it, and you're looking south, then the compass direction for the moon is south. Now, you might not know the direction that you're facing. You might have to ask your family. They can help you, or you can look at your phone maybe to try to figure that out if you know your compass directions north, south, east, and west, right? North. I'm doing this for you. North, south, east, north, south, east, and west. East, I always think of an E is always facing east, or the E is pointing east. Or you could think going clockwise around, never eat soggy waffles. That's another way that you can remember. And then the other thing is you have to keep in mind is if the sky is completely cloudy, it's going to block the moon because the moon is in outer space. The clouds are here on Earth. So if it is a cloudy night, you're probably not going to be able to see the moon. If it's partly cloudy and then, there are just a few clouds and you can still see the blue sky, then that night you're probably going to be able to see the moon. Okay, so just kind of have to also keep an eye on the weather to make sure you can see the moon. All right, so here is your check for understanding. How will you determine the compass direction of the moon? Is it A, the moon is always in the south? B, the moon is always in the north? C, face the moon, whatever direction I'm facing, that's the compass direction? Or D, face the moon, the compass direction is opposite of the moon? Pause here, answer your question. Okay, hopefully you got that right. It is face the moon. Answer C, whatever direction I'm facing, that's the compass direction. Hopefully you got that right. Okay, so the other thing that you have to do is altitude. Altitude is how high up in the sky the moon is. So there are a lot of ways that you can figure this out. There's some easy and some challenging. We're going to do the easy way. So altitude is like how high up something is. Altitude is kind of just like elevation, right? We're looking at the elevation of the moon, how high up in the sky it is. The problem is we can't say that it's like 100 feet up in the air. We can't measure that. So we measure something called the angular distance. And the way you do that is you hold your arm at arm's length, like straight out in front of you. So straight out in front of you, you hold your arm, and then you stretch your thumb and your little finger as wide as you can get it apart. Like we call that a full hand span, if you will. And if you do that from your thumb, I'll do it this way so it matches the picture. Actually, I'm not sure which way matches the picture. Your thumb and your pinky finger. That's what we call 20 degrees. So if you're holding your arm straight out, that's 20 degrees from your tip of your thumb to your pinky finger. 90 degrees would be from the ground straight above your head, because I'm making a 90-degree angle, right? So that would be 90 degrees. 20 degrees is just a little bit of that degree, right? So that's about 20 degrees from your pinky finger to your thumb, and your arm length is proportional to your hand size. So if your little brother does this, his hand is a lot smaller, but his arm is shorter. So it works out, okay? So here's a picture to kind of help you visualize that a little bit. That's me on the left-hand side. And if you look at the yellow here, it says that your arm is fully stretched out horizontally. Make sure that it is like parallel to the ground, right? And then you're going to have to put your thumb where the ground surface is. Now, obviously, because that's going to be like the horizon, that's the ground. You might have to estimate this if you have some buildings in the way. Like everywhere where I look, buildings are in the way. So you might have to estimate this a little bit and just kind of figure out, well, where does the ground meet the sky? Like at that point. And usually what I do is just, if you hold your arm parallel to the ground, then that should be a pretty good estimation of that. And then you're going to measure the number of hand lengths above the level surface of the ground, between the ground and the moon. So up here is the moon. And if I'm trying to measure how high up in the air the moon is, the altitude of the moon, you can see that I measured, here's 1 hand length, here's 2 hand lengths, here's 3 hand lengths. And I know that 1 hand length was 20 degrees. So this would be 20 degrees, 20 degrees, 20 degrees. So 20 times 3 would be 60 degrees. And so that would be the altitude of the moon. Okay. And you can also estimate it, like halfway between there would be 10 degrees, right? So you just kind of have to estimate a little bit as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just looking for an estimate here. Okay. Just to kind of give you some practice with things like this. All right. So how will you determine the altitude of the moon? 3 basic steps, right? Hold your arms straight out at arm's length. Use your hand to measure the length, the number of the degrees, and then count up the number of hand lengths and add them up. Easy as that. Okay, that's how you figure out the altitude of the moon. All right, a couple of other little hints. First of all, the moon might not be out only at night. Sometimes it's out during the day. This was a picture that I took quite a few years ago, but the moon is out during the day a lot. You might have seen it during the day, right? Some other things to be aware of. The moon is most likely going to be smaller than you expected. When you look up at the moon, sometimes it looks really big, but especially if it's high up in the sky, it's probably going to be a lot smaller. So you really got to look around for it. All right. Another thing that might help. If the moon is up during the day, you can put your hand in front of the sun and block the light so that way you can see the moon a little bit better. Because sometimes the light from the sun is so bright, it's hard to see the moon, and it's hard to find the moon. And if you look at this picture, if the lit part of the moon is on the right-hand side, then you know the sun is on the right-hand side of the moon. That's where the sun is going to be, because the sun is the thing that's lighting up the moon. The moon isn't giving off its own light. The reason the moon is lit up is because the sun is shining on it. So that would be a little hint for you. And then this weekend, you can look for the moon in the southwestern part of the sky. So halfway between south and west, that's where you're going to find the moon. And I would look again this weekend. I would look after 6:30 p.m., but before midnight. So between 6:30 and midnight is probably the best time to look for the moon, because after midnight it's going to set already. You're not going to see it anymore. And before 6:30, it's going to be a little too bright for you to be able to see it too clearly. Okay. So hopefully that should help. Let's check your understanding one more time. Where should you look for the moon this weekend? Southwest between noon and 6 p.m., or southwest between 8 a.m. and noon? C, southwest between midnight and 8 a.m., or D, southwest between 6 p.m. and midnight? Pause right here, see if you remember. Welcome. Hopefully you got that right. Southwest between 6 p.m. and 12 a.m. So probably more like 6:30 would be good, but you can always start looking at about 6 p.m. Okay. All right. So once you've done this weekend, you only need to do one observation this weekend. After that, then we're going to do this about 1 to 3 times per week, probably 2 to 3 times per week. And the weekends count. So like if you do 2 observations during the week, you can always do another one on the weekends. And again, you want to think about like paying attention to the weather, because you might think to yourself, oh, I don't want to do the moon observation tonight. I'll do it tomorrow. But if today it's nice and sunny and clear skies, but tomorrow it's going to rain, then you probably want to do that moon observation on the day that it's sunny and the skies are going to be clear. Okay, so just got to be mindful of that and plan ahead a little bit. Once you've made your observations for the week, then you take a picture of your worksheet, of your notebook paper that you have filled out, and you upload that to Canvas. Like I said, again, this weekend you're going to do 1 observation. Make sure you check that weather. And if you want to send us along a selfie with you and the moon, I'll give you some extra credit. Okay. All right. One last time. How many times are you making observations of the moon? Is it A, once this weekend and 4 to 5 times each week after this? B, once this weekend, 1 to 3 times each week after this? Or C, once this weekend and that's all? Think to yourself what you want that answer to be. And hopefully you got it right. B, 1 time this weekend and then 1 to 3 times each week after this. And we're going to do this for 4 weeks. So hopefully that made sense to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me so that I can help you and answer any of those questions that you have. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.